Welcome back to another episode of Steele Talkin Sports. I am your host, Jay Steele, and let's get talking. What up? It's week 4 of NFL football. This is being recorded on Wednesday, September 25th, so I will have this out to you before the Thursday night game between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Let's start off with a quick recap. Maybe going to do things a little bit differently than I did last week. I don't know. I'm just going to run through the games, how they ended. Dallas got destroyed by the Ravens. I know the score says 28-25, but it was a lot bigger disparity in that if you watched that game. Dallas could not stop the run at all. Let's see. Derrick Henry went for 25 carries, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Lamar tacked on, 87 yards of his own. So as a team, they ran for 274. Dallas has got to figure that out. It looks good in the stat line that Dak had 379 yards, but it was on 51 attempts. I mean, my goodness, man. They've got to figure something out. So that was a dud. As far as the other games, we had, obviously, if you watched Monday night, Buffalo took care of Jacksonville pretty handedly. They look really good. Their offense is firing on all cylinders. The Commanders surprised everybody with a win over the Bengals. So we would have got those 2 games right if you bet those and listened to last week's episode. So Monday night would have been a clean sweep. I'll just work backwards up the slate. Sunday night, Chiefs beat the Falcons 22-17. Another win at the buzzer for the Chiefs. They keep skating by. We'll see if that can continue. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. Lions go on the road to beat the Cardinals 20-13. Rams pull off a massive comeback against the 49ers 27-24. Dolphins went into Seattle and got demolished 24-3. Panthers go on the road to Las Vegas, and Andy Dalton throws for 300 yards and gets the first W of the year for the Panthers. Pretty impressive. Denver goes on the road to Tampa Bay and basically shuts out Tampa Bay 26-7. Steelers hosted the Chargers. They moved to 3-0 by beating the Chargers 20-10. Another really good game from Justin Fields. 25 completions on 32 attempts, 245 in the air, and 1 touchdown. Dude, that's pretty impressive for Justin Fields. They're starting to look like a really good team. Eagles beat the Saints 15-12. What a low-scoring game. There was the Eagles had no points going into the fourth quarter. It was 3-0. So that was a weird game to watch. Very boring. Vikings handle the Texans 34-7. Sam Darnold looks like a beast. Hope he's okay. He did have a slight injury at the end of that game last week. Colts beat the Bears in a tight one, 21-16. Packers go on the road to Tennessee and win 30-14. Malik Willis looked pretty darn good. Giants, big surprise, beat Cleveland on the road 21-15. And then I talked about Dallas losing, and then Thursday night, Jets beat the Patriots 24-3. So as far as the picks on last week's episode, I went 10-6. Which brings the 3-week yearly total to 28 wins, 19 losses, and 1 push. So currently, if you're listening to my episodes, I'm doing pretty solid. You would be up 9 or 10 units on those picks. So I don't mean to tout, but I think that's pretty solid. I think I'm looking at the games the right way. So I'm pretty confident in going forward that I'm doing a good job here. As far as the over-unders last week, 6 overs, 10 unders, which brings the 2024 total over-unders to 19 overs, 28 unders, and 1 push. So unders are pretty successful right now. Obviously, I mean, the last 2 weeks, week 1 was 8-8. The last 2 weeks have had 10 unders apiece. So just over the last 2 weeks, 11 and 20 to the under. 11 overs, 20 unders, and 1 push. So teams are not scoring, or the bookmakers are setting the odds too high. So I think that's something that we can look at and try to take advantage of in some of these matchups for this week, because the over-unders do look kind of weird. There's some games that I think are really high, and then some games that I think are obnoxiously low. So let's move on, and we'll just start at the beginning of the slate, and we'll just pick them all together. So first up, Thursday night, 8:15 on Amazon Prime, is Dallas going on the road to the New York Giants. Currently, the spread is Dallas minus 5.5. The over-under is set at 45 or maybe 44.5. And then on the money line, Dallas somewhere around minus 250, New York Giants plus 200, maybe plus 220, depending on your sports book. Obviously, like I said, Dallas has not been good at defending the run, but the Giants have not necessarily run the ball very well. If we go to Pro Football Reference, the Giants are 29th in team offense with only 45 points scored, 884 yards total. I mean, that's a decent number of yards. Conversely, the Cowboys have the 6th best offense by this metric, 77 points and 130 yards. But if we go to team defense, this is where, I mean, Dallas is historically bad right now. 30th in effective defense, 89 points allowed, 1,100 yards. We've given up 186 plays, given up 63 first downs, 561 yards passing, and 557 yards rushing we've given up. And we're in the top of the league. Jacksonville is leading the league, but we have given up 209 yards on penalties. So the defense is not very good. For the Giants, they're sitting at 18th, giving up 64 points. They've allowed 954 yards. So not nearly as bad as Dallas. A little bit less penalty yards given up, 180, and they've only allowed 395 yards on the ground. So significantly better in the defensive department as far as defending the run. Now, if I look at OddsShark, their predicted score for this game is weirdly enough 21-21. So they have it as dead even, and in that case, you would want to take the Giants plus 5.5. But some trends for Dallas and New York that they offer: Dallas is 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games against the Giants. They're 6-0 straight up, and then they're 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 when playing on the road at New York. So basically, when New York plays at home against Dallas, they just don't cover the spread. They get beat. I like that trend to continue after Dallas losing 2 games in a row, both of which were at home. New York, on the other hand, they're coming off of a first win on the road at Cleveland, where they were a huge underdog in that game. So I just think this is a sleepy spot for New York, and I like Dallas to get some revenge. I definitely think we're still going to give up points. So I actually like the over at 45. I hesitantly want to say take Dallas minus 5.5. And that's the way that I'll pick it for the episode purposes. But if I had to actually make a bet, I would just play the over. So that would be my play, over 45 or 45.5, whatever your sports book is giving you. Next game, we move on to Sunday at the 1 o'clock slate. Cincinnati on the road at Carolina. This is obviously now a very interesting game because Cincinnati is 0-3, yet they are on the road laying points, -4.5 against the Panthers, who started Andy Dalton last week. He looked a lot better than Bryce Young. Threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and now he gets to play his former team in the Bengals. Very interesting matchup here. Obviously, Cincinnati fought well against Washington on Monday night, but Washington just didn't have any bad drives. I watched that entire game. I thought it was very good play calling by Cliff Kingsbury for Jaden Daniels. They looked smooth. They didn't take a lot of negative plays. If he had to take a sack, he took a sack. It was okay. But yeah, I really liked what I saw out of Washington. I didn't expect that. I did place a money line bet on Washington, and I had picked Washington plus 7.5 in the episode last week, but I thought they would score first and then Cincinnati would come back and win. But really, Cincinnati scored, Washington answered. Cincinnati got a punt in their next drive. And then Washington just drove down the field and scored again. And once they scored that second time, they just took control of the game and they never gave it up. So very, very nice, well-rounded play by Washington. For this game, as far as total defense goes, Cincinnati is ranked 26th, 80 points allowed, a little over 900 yards. They're very low on the penalty numbers. They've only given up 112 yards on penalties. And then pretty even as far as the yards, passing and rushing, 505 to 427. For Carolina, their defense is ranked 32nd, 95 points allowed, 1,059 yards, 600 yards through the air, 454th on the ground, and 164 yards in penalties. As far as the offensive numbers go, give me 1 second. Oh, here's team offense. Let's see. Cincinnati is ranked 13th, 68 points for, 980 yards. But if you just watch their games, they don't look effective doing anything. They can throw to Jamar Chase if he's got single coverage, but other than that, they're not making a lot of plays for Joe Burrow, and then their defense isn't showing up in the crunch time. Offensively, Carolina's ranked 26th, only 49 points scored. Most of those were in the last game, 789 yards. They've only got 510 yards passing on the season. Obviously, 300 plus came from Andy last week. And they do have 221 yards in penalties, and that's on offense. Oh, my God. So, this one's a tough one. I don't really know. I'm kind of just going to be dumb. And, I don't want to say dumb, but I think it's risky to take the Panthers at plus 4.5, but I do think they're going to play better with Andy Dalton. And the Bengals are a pile of trash right now, so I just can't trust I can't trust the Bengals to win a game, but to cover a spread either. They're not good right now. Something's wrong. Something is wrong. Next up, Minnesota at Green Bay. Green Bay is laying 2.5. Minnesota on the money line plus 120. Green Bay minus 142. Over under is set at 43.5. This obviously should be a very good game. Packers 2-1, Vikings 3-0. Vikings have looked really good. Sam Darnold looks like a beast. It seems like he finally found the home that he was looking for, and he just needed Kevin O'Connell as his coach. Obviously, they won on the road at Houston. They beat San Francisco, and they, mopped the Giants. Green Bay handled Tennessee, beat Indy, and lost to Philadelphia in the Brazil game to start. So they're looking good. Don't know what the report is on Jordan Love. It says he is still questionable for Minnesota versus Minnesota with the MCL. I would imagine that after what they saw out of Malik Willis, the video that I saw of Coach LaFleur after the game, giving the game ball to Malik Willis, I think they're okay letting Jordan Love stay on the sidelines until he is 100%. They don't need to risk it right now. This is a big divisional game early in the season, but it's only week 4. They'll have another matchup against Minnesota later in the year. I don't think it's worth risking Jordan Love, and I don't think that Matt LaFleur is going to do that to his team this early in the year. So I think Malik Willis is going to play. Moving on, I think that this is a tough game. Oddshark has a predicted score of Green Bay 27 to Minnesota 16. With it being 2.5, I get that. I don't know. I think it's going to be a closer game than that, but I would take the 2.5 or lay the 2.5. I'm sorry. I would bet Green Bay. I think as far as trends go, Minnesota is 6-12 against the spread in their last 18 games when on the road at Green Bay. And they're 1-4 straight up in their last 5 games against divisional opponents. Green Bay, on the other hand, 5-1 ATS in their last 6 games at home. 14-6 in their last 20 games played in September. Yeah, I like Green Bay here. I really liked what I saw out of Malik Willis last week. I think Minnesota is going to be able to move the ball. Obviously, they have Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones, but Green Bay seems to have it all together as well. So until I know it's only a 2-game sample, but Green Bay looked good against Philadelphia. I'm going to keep picking Green Bay until they prove me that they can't do it. Yeah, I feel good about that. So Green Bay minus the 2.5. And yeah, Josh Jacobs has been good. Man, he's got 62 carries for 278 yards. He doesn't have any touchdowns on the year yet, but that's okay. He's going to get some in Green Bay on Sunday. Book it. Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown. I'm feeling that. Moving on. Next game, we have Pittsburgh at Indianapolis. Pittsburgh is favored minus 1.5. Pittsburgh on the money line minus 122. Indianapolis plus 102. And the over-under is set at 40, maybe 40.5. So Indianapolis, short home dog here. This is just a lot to ask out of Anthony Richardson against Mike Tomlin and TJ Watt defense. TJ Watt has been everywhere. Justin Fields looks really serviceable as quarterback. They don't need Russell Wilson right now, in my opinion. He looks really good. Najee Harris looks like he's starting to gain some traction. He had some big 8 to 10 yard runs right up through the middle in their game the other day. I I like what I see out of Pittsburgh, and them just like Green Bay, until they prove to me that they can't do it, I'm going to keep betting Pittsburgh. I think it's plain and simple. They're a really good team. You can never count out a Mike Tomlin defense. They are 24th in offensive rating with only 51 points scored, under 900 yards total, but only 10 penalty yards. No, wait, I'm sorry. 153 yards in penalties, which is kind of bad. But they've got 20 rushing first downs, 22 passing first downs. They're just being effective. They're not doing anything special. They're not going outside of Justin Fields' capabilities. I really like what I see out of that offense. And they have the number one defense right now. 26 points allowed, under 700 total yards allowed. They've created 5 turnovers. They've only given up 38 first downs total. That's crazy. Yeah, that's insane. Indianapolis, on the other hand, has 14th defense, 61 points allowed, but they have given up 1,200 yards. Pretty even as far as passing and rushing goes. And then their offense looks like 17th. So they're middle of the pack in both. 58 points scored, 950 yards total. But in this game, I just can't see Anthony Richardson being able to get away from T.J. Watt. You'd be surprised that I feel like when the Steelers play a mobile quarterback, T.J. Watt is just as mobile. And when he's getting pressure on the quarterback and the quarterback thinks he can go left, TJ's already played that move out in his mind, and he adjusts his course and he gets the sack anyway. So I see that happening a lot in this game. Plus, they're on turf. I think TJ is going to be able to just fire off the ball and have a good game. So yeah, Pittsburgh -1.5 for sure. The total is set at 40. Under for sure there. There might be 20 points scored total. So definitely like the under in Pittsburgh, Indianapolis. Moving on, Denver at the New York Jets. Jets are laying 7.5. Denver +275 on the money line. New York Jets -345. Over under is set at 38.5 points. This game, if Denver hadn't beaten Tampa on the road in Tampa, I would feel better about the Jets at the 7.5 number. But I think after Denver going on the road to Tampa Bay and winning that game, I think this number is set too high. I don't think it should be 7.5. I think it should be more like 5.5. But that's just my opinion. That being said, this is going to be a pretty tough environment for Bo Nix to play in. It doesn't help that Zach Wilson is your backup, so if anything happens, you have to put Zach Wilson in to play against the team that let him go. That's not going to be good. But also, this is Aaron Rodgers versus a Sean Payton defense. What are we going to see out of that? Don't really know yet. Rodgers has thrown for 624 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bo Nix, on the other hand, 600 yards, no TDs, 4 picks. This is a game where, obviously, if you have Sauce Gardner on your defense, you like your chances against the Denver Broncos. And after the Monday night loss in week 1. The Jets have looked really good in 2 straight weeks. Beat Tennessee on the road by 7, and then took care of New England by 21 points on a Thursday night on short rest 4 days later. Rodgers has shown that the Achilles looks pretty good. He has made some runs. So I don't see any reason why the Jets don't cover the 7.5. This could be just like the New England game, 24-3. Team offense, let's see, Jets are ranked 14th, and Denver is 23rd. As far as defensive stats, give me 1 second. I should have just done this. There we go. Defensive numbers. New York Jets are ranked 8th, and Denver is actually 6th. Wow. Well, yeah, I guess when you only give up 7 points to Tampa last week, it turns your numbers around pretty quick. It's all right. I like the Jets in this play. I thought Rodgers had a nice coming out party last week. Made some really good throws. He and Robert Saleh seem like they're finally starting to click as a coach QB combo. And then Nathaniel Hackett as well on the offensive coordinator side calling the plays. I like what I see out of the Jets so far. Moving on, LA Rams on the road to play Chicago. Chicago -3. I think that's wrong, but nevertheless, LA Rams plus 124 on the money line. Chicago -148. Total is set at 41 points. I can't trust Caleb Williams right now, so I don't know why Chicago is a -3 favorite at home. That seems kind of funky to me. They are 1-0 at home, and the Rams are 0-2 on the road. I guess that kind of plays a factor. But the one win was Tennessee, and if it weren't for 2 Will Levis mistakes, Chicago loses that game. So Chicago should be 0-3. And were it not for an overtime drive against Detroit, LA Rams could be 2-1. So, yeah, I like what I saw out of the Rams last week, even though they were down Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Sean McVay knows how to get it done. He's a very capable coach, knows how to get his guys in gear when he needs to. Let's see. Rams are 20th in offense, and Chicago is 22nd. As far as defense goes, Chicago is ranked 10th. Oof. And the Rams are 31st, but I think a lot of that has to do with giving up 41 points to Arizona. So I wouldn't lean too much into that. But this game, I'm taking the Rams plus the 3. I think this should be 1.5. So if I'm getting 1.5 of value, I'm just going to take a Sean McVay-led team. Much better coach, much better quarterback. Yeah. Moving on, New Orleans at Atlanta. Atlanta -1.5. New Orleans plus 102 on the money line. Atlanta -122. Over under is set at 42 points. After watching the Eagles-Saints game and watching Kirk Cousins kind of be incapable sometimes of moving around in the pocket. I don't really have any interest in this game. I don't want to watch this game. I don't really want to make a bet in this game. So yeah, I mean, we know that the Saints offense kind of slowed down. They're still ranked second with 103 points. Saints defense is ranked fifth. On the other hand, Atlanta is defense 13th, but offense 27th. So they can't score points. They can move the ball, but they can't score points. They're getting too many field goals. This is a weird play, but I think if you wanted to look at something for Atlanta, because I don't like Atlanta minus 1.5, I would take the kicker for Atlanta, Younghoe Koo, like over his field goals made, because Atlanta just kicks a bunch of field goals. So go get you a kicker prop. But New Orleans plus 1.5, New Orleans on the money line, however you want to play that. Much better offense. Definitely taking the Saints in that pick. Next up, got two more games at 1 o'clock. This one is Philadelphia at Tampa. Philly minus 2.5 on the road, minus 135 on the money line. Tampa Bay plus 114, and the total is set at 45 points. Nice win by Philly against the Saints, even though it took until the fourth quarter and like a 65-yard touchdown run by Saquon to get them on the board. But Tampa looked like trash at home against the Broncos. So you get what you get. Now you get Tampa back-to-back home games, Philly back-to-back road games. I like Tampa in this spot. I like the plus 2.5. I'd like to see it move up to a 3, but I doubt it gets there. But this would be one I would maybe like pay attention to, like who scores first, and then take the opposite team on the money line. Preferably that being like Philadelphia, and then you bet Tampa to come back and win. You might be able to get Tampa at a better number than plus 114. So I'm going to pick Tampa. I'm not super confident about it, but I just think after losing at home last week, they should be motivated. Philadelphia on, back-to-back road games, they should be a little tired, sleeping in hotels. So I'm going to bet Tampa to cover the 2.5, but probably squeak that one out as a win. Last up in the 1 o'clock slate, Jacksonville at Houston. Houston minus 6.5 right now, could get a lot bigger. Jackson plus 240 on the money line. Houston minus 298, and the over/under is set at 45. Jacksonville might be the worst team in the league. Team offense, they're ranked 30th with only 40 points scored, 829 yards of offense. Woof. On the other hand, Houston is 21st, only 55 points scored, but they've put up, 200 yards more of offense. They're over 1,000. On the defensive side, Houston ranked 23rd and Jacksonville 28th. So both in the bottom 10 of the league in defense. Offense is a little bit better for Houston, but at 21st, so they're right outside the bottom 10. Houston can at least put up points and looks competent on offense. Jacksonville looks like a total mess. I don't understand how Trevor Lawrence can look this bad with all of his athleticism. I truly don't get it. And he's got weapons, but they're just not performing. That Monday night game, 47-10, and it was over in the second quarter. I mean, they shouldn't have even played the rest of the game because it was just embarrassing to the team. Like, they were just getting stomped on. Um, I don't think that's going to happen in a divisional matchup here, but honestly, after what I've seen, I might just take the Jags team total under. I mean, probably 17 and a half, 16 and a half points right now. Um, they just don't seem competent on offense. Also, this total is set at 45. I don't know if these two teams can score 45 points. Um, I know Houston in week one at Indy, the game was 29-27, but against Chicago, I thought they should have scored a lot more points. They only put up 19, and then against Minnesota, they only put up 7. Um, so I could see this being like a 21-10 game. I don't think this gets anywhere close to 45 points. So I would play the under if it was me. 6.5 seems like a stretch for Houston. But it's more a bet against the Jaguars offense that the Jags can't score any points. Do I think CJ Stroud can score 2 touchdowns? Yes. So, I think they can win by 6.5. I will say after Monday night, underdogs of I think it's 5.5 or more are winning against the spread at like a 14-3 record. So the big dogs have been paying out, but I think this is going to be a week where some of those are in bad matchups, and the bad matchups are not going to prevail. That number will start coming back to the middle a little bit. 14-3 is a really good start, but I think it's going to kind of come back to earth. Now we move on to the 4 o'clock games. First up, we have New England on the road at San Francisco. San Francisco -10. Yes, -10. We get our first double-digit number of the season. New England +390 on the money line. San Francisco -520. Yeesh. And over-under is set at 39.5. For this game, obviously, I think San Francisco is still pretty injured on the offensive side of the ball. Debo, doubtful. George Kittle, questionable. McCaffrey on IR. They're pretty banged up, man. And now they've lost 2 games in a row. Lost to Minnesota. That was a close game. The Rams, they had a 14-0 lead, and then they blew it. I was happy about that. I was on the Rams. I used the DraftKings up 7 early and win on the Rams, but they never led by 7, but they still won. So I won the money line bet anyway. That was a nice play. Did the same with the Washington-Cincinnati game on Monday night. That one cashed in the second quarter because Washington went up by 7 points. So use those if you can. I know you can only use the max bet you can put is $10, but that works great for me because that's my unit size. So it doesn't bother me. Obviously, if you use more money than that, then it doesn't really apply to you. But hey, it's still a way to make some cash. For this game, New England 1-2 record, 1-1 on the road. San Francisco has lost 2 games in a row on the road, so they've won 1 game at home against the Jets. I think this is another game where they clean house and they get right, but 10 is a big number. 10 is a really big number. I don't know, man. This seems like one of those. This is like a meme play where like you put San Francisco money line in your parlay, and then that's the one that loses. I'm just saying, don't do anything stupid here. Look into the numbers, what you want to see. if you want to bet San Francisco, because I just don't have a lot of trust in them right now. They don't look very good. They look out of order. This is not like a Kyle Shanahan team early in the year. I mean, they're ninth in offense with 73 points scored and 1,222 yards. That's second most in the league. But why are they 40 points off of the Buffalo Bills? Very good question. They have 181 yards and penalties on offense. That's not good. That's not a Kyle Shanahan offense to have 181 yards and penalties. And then on defense, they're ranked 21st right now. Allowed 69 points. They've allowed almost 1,000 yards of total offense, 653 of which is through the air. Only allowed 312 yards on the ground. So the way to beat San Francisco right now is passing the ball. And then they have 18 penalties for 138 yards on defense. So not too bad in the penalty department on defense, but they're giving up a ton of yards through the air. Quarterbacks are throwing 52 completions for 81 attempts. So, 62%, something like that. They're allowing quarterbacks to feast. Now, in this game, we don't have a quarterback who's going to feast, but they mix it up a little bit. I don't know. I don't like it. I'm just going to take New England plus 10. This will not be something that I bet. But if you wanted, like, if you're playing like a fun parlay or a teaser, if you use the teaser play and get 6 points, you play New England up to 16. That would be, somewhere I could get in on having some New England action. Moving on to 4 o'clock, Washington at Arizona. Arizona minus 3.5. Washington on the money line plus 142. Arizona minus 170. Total is set at 50.5 points. Holy Jesus. We get a 50 banger. My hunch tells me that when you see a total this high, you take the under. But let's see. Arizona has had 2 games go over this number. Buffalo, they lost 34-28. That would have been 62 points. And then against the Rams, 41-10. So would have just covered by a half. Obviously, Washington, 38-33 against Cincinnati the other night, well over. Against the Giants, 21-18 under. And then at Tampa, 37-20. So both teams 2-1 to the over that would cash this number. This is a tough one for me. Let's see. Team offense ranked 5th is actually Washington. 79 points scored, 1,080 yards total. They have no turnovers on offense. They're the only team that has no turnovers on offense. Wow. That's incredible. Let's see, 619 yards passing, 461 yards rushing, pretty balanced. They do have 20 penalties for 148 yards on offense. I don't like that. But Arizona is, right above them. They're 4th in offense, 82 points scored, about the same number of yards, 1,036. Even distribution of passing and rushing. Significantly less penalties on offense, 14 for 113 yards. On defense, Washington is ranked 29th. Obviously, they've been giving up points. And Arizona is at 19th. And a lot of that comes from holding the Rams to 10 points in their second game. But they held the Lions to 20 last week, so I mean that's impressive. Lions have a high-powered offense. In this game, I think this is going to obviously you've got rookies everywhere. You've got Marvin Harrison for the Cardinals. You've got Jaden Daniels on the Washington side. I think this is just going to be kind of a showcase. I think it could be a barn burner. So 50.5 seems reasonable. Kind of seems like there might be no defense played in this game. So just points, points, points. I think Arizona squeaks this one out and they win by more than a field goal, but I definitely like the over as well. Yeah, this could be a. Well, in this case, if I'm picking Arizona minus 3.5, I hope it's a 34-30 game, or like 34-27. But I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. It should be a fun game to watch in the afternoon slate. Next up, Kansas City at the LA Chargers. Kansas City minus 8. Kansas City on the money line minus 425. LA Chargers plus 330. And we need to see if Justin Herbert is going to play this week. Over under is set at 39 points. Herbert did get injured in the previous game. Says he's questionable. Also, offensive tackle Joe Alt questionable. Josh Palmer, wide receiver, questionable. And then on the other side, Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs is on IR, as is Hollywood Brown. So obviously, the Chiefs have won 3 games, but they have not covered a single one of them. Well, maybe that was a short number in Baltimore. Yeah, it was 2.5. Okay, so Cincinnati's 1-2 against the spread. So they won on a field goal with Cincinnati. No. I'm sorry, they're 2-1 because they were minus 3.5 at Atlanta and they won by 5. Yeah. Okay. Why was I getting that so backwards? They're 2-1 against the spread, but all 3 of their games have come down to the last play of the game. Right now, they don't have a lot of answers as far as just putting teams away. They just let them hang around and let them hang around and let them hang around. And with a Jim Harbaugh coached team, I don't think that's something that you want to do, even if they do have Taylor Heineke playing quarterback, which I thought he actually looked pretty good when he came in for Justin Herbert. He immediately came in and was slinging the ball. So I'm not mad at it. I'm going to go against the Chiefs, and I'm going to take the Chargers plus the 8. I'd like to see it up to an 8.5 if it gets there, but either way. Also, 39 points, I'd like the under. Harbaugh's teams are not giving up a lot of points. I mean, he gave up 10 to the Raiders and then 3 to the Panthers and then only 20 to Pittsburgh. So I'm not mad about that. As far as offense goes, the Chargers are ranked 18th and Kansas City is ranked 8th. On defensive side, Chargers are 3rd and Kansas City 15th. So yeah, I kind of like the defensive matchup here with the Chargers and taking the Chargers plus the 8. Last 4 o'clock game, we have Cleveland at Las Vegas. Las Vegas minus 1. Cleveland on the money line plus 100. Las Vegas on the money line minus 120. Over under is set at 37 points. This is a weird game to me. I don't really know what to think, but I don't like this Cleveland team. I don't think they're very good. they seem to have a lot of problems in a lot of different areas. Um, they've got a number of offensive tackles and defensive ends injured. Um, um, and the Raiders lost their only game they've played at home so far. So I'm leaning the way of the Raiders getting their first home win. Yeah. The Raiders. I'm going to take Las Vegas minus the 1. I think that total is suspiciously low, and I think these teams are going to score some points on each other, so I would play the over 37 as well. Yeah. All right. 3 games left. Let's wrap this up so I can go walk my dogs. Buffalo on the road at Baltimore Sunday night, 8:15 p.m. Buffalo plus 110 on the money line. Baltimore minus 130. Baltimore minus 2.5. Total is set at 46.5 points. Obviously, Buffalo looks kind of like a wagon right now. They're scoring a lot of points. Josh Allen is not making any mistakes so far. So far on the season, he is 54 of 72 passing, 634 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Conversely, Lamar has like the same number of completions with 90 more pass attempts, 702 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Obviously, Derrick Henry and their running game got going last week against a shitty Dallas defense. But Buffalo, on the other hand, is much better in that department. They have only given up 355 yards on the ground. They are giving up 4.7 yards per attempt, but, compared to Dallas giving up 5.4 yards per attempt, they look pretty damn good. Offensive numbers, obviously Buffalo is number 1. Baltimore is 11. Defense, Buffalo is 7th. And Baltimore is all the way down at 25th in defense right now, giving up 1,000 yards, 875 yards in the air. Holy Lord. They've only given up 150 rushing yards. So defense is stout, 2.8 yards per attempt. But passing, what's that say? Net yards gained per pass attempt, 6.9 they are giving up per pass attempt. That is awful. That is really bad. So if you just keep passing the ball, which Josh Allen looks like he's capable of doing this season, you're going to work this Baltimore team into the ground. And when you look at the score of the Dallas game on Sunday, like Baltimore was up 21-6 at halftime, and then scored early in the third quarter and were up 28-6. And I know it's, they fell asleep at the wheel and gave up 19 points in the fourth quarter, but Dallas missed 2 2-point conversions in a row, or we would have been up 1 point and won that game. So honestly, it doesn't, it looks like it was a bad game on our part, but it really wasn't. Once we started just passing the ball, we played a really good game. So I think if other teams realize this, that you don't really need to run the ball on Baltimore. Their run defense is good. If you just keep passing the ball, they have no chance. And everything that I've seen out of Buffalo shows me that they've got a even complement of run-pass options, and James Cook out of the backfield might be the best pass-catching running back we have in the league right now. because he looks electric. And he just missed like a deep corner on Monday night that Josh Allen laid it out there. He just couldn't quite make the grab. But he looks like a very capable receiving running back. So I like Buffalo in the spot. I I don't see anything to make me trust Baltimore. That's the thing. Especially the way they lost that first game at home against who was that? The Raiders. I mean that was ugly. Yeah, the Raiders, and they lost by the field goal. Other than that, I mean, Buffalo did have a close game against Arizona, but they only won by 6. But the past 2 weeks, they've won by 21 points and 37 points. Buffalo is rolling. And yeah, 46.5. I mean, they might score 45 points on their own again. So I like the over. All right, 2 games left. Monday night. I don't really like this one, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. Tennessee at Miami. Miami -1. Tennessee on the money line -108. Miami -112. Over under set at 36.5. Honestly, Will Levis can score some points, but without Tua, Miami's not any good. Skylar Thompson is not going to get it done. He's not somebody that I'm going to put my money on. So if it had to be a bet, it would be Tennessee plus the 1 or Tennessee money line. But I'm not betting that game. I don't. And it's a bad matchup for a Monday night. I know that it's already scheduled, but I'll do something else and just wait until the Seattle-Detroit game. So Seattle at Detroit. This one's at 8:15. Detroit -3.5. Seattle plus 150 on the money line. Detroit -180. Over under set at 47 points. This one should be a good game. The Seahawks 3-0, 1-0 on the road. Detroit 2-1, 1-1 at home, with that one loss being to Tampa Bay last week. Now, Seattle had let's call it an easy game against Skylar Thompson in Miami on Sunday at home, but they've played 2 pretty close games up until then. Overtime win at New England, and then a 6-point win against Denver came down to the wire. Detroit has played a 1-possession game all 3 games, 20-13, lost 20-16, won 26-20 in overtime. So, yes, they've technically covered this 3.5 number twice. But I don't know. They lost their last game at home, so coming off of a home loss, they have to swallow that and come back home. Mike McDonald, on the other hand, for Seattle, looks pretty darn good. They're not making a lot of mistakes, I don't think. Seattle is ranked 10th in offense. They do have 4 turnovers. Don't like that. Quite a bit of penalty yards on offense with 183. And a pretty one-sided attack with 740 yards passing, only 292 on the ground. For Detroit, they are down at 16th in offense. A lot of yards, 1,199. 710 passing, 489 on the ground. A lot of yards on penalties, though, 206. Don't like to see that from a Dan Campbell team. Seattle's defense is 4th right now, only allowed 746 yards. Wow. 397 through the air, 350 on the ground. They do have 22 penalties for 187 yards. You don't like to see that. But Detroit is 9th in defense. So it's a pretty good matchup. Pretty, right there neck and neck with each other. Both teams have forced 3 turnovers on defense. And Detroit has only given up 230 yards on the ground, 3.6 yards per attempt. That's pretty solid. I didn't know that Detroit was that good at defending the run, but they do have Aiden Hutchinson. For this game, this is a tough one. This really is. This one has me scratching my head because I really don't know which way to go. But the Seahawks run has got to come to an end. Detroit gets the win. Detroit gets the cover. There we go. All right, that is the last game on the slate. I can finally stop talking and listening to my voice. Let's count them up. Dogs and favorites this week. What do we got? I feel like I got a bit more balanced attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, 8 favorites means 8 dogs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. I was wanting a week where I got a bit more balanced picking dogs and favorites. So happy to see that. All right, people. That is all that I've got for week 4 of the Steele Talkin Sports podcast. Again, thank you to anybody that listens to this. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Whatever you can do to help me on this journey of talking sports on a regular basis, I greatly appreciate it. So please offer that support wherever you can. You can find me on YouTube at Steele Talkin Sports. You can find me on Twitter at Steele_Talkin. That's my picks for the week. Let's go have a good week. Make yourself some money. Remember to stay within your betting allotment, whether that's $5 a game, $10 a game, $20 a game, whatever it is. Make sure you manage your bankroll. Don't go out there and spend money that you don't have. And if you have a losing week, just wait till next week to make a deposit and then get back in the saddle. Make sure you look at stats, look at injury reports, understand the game, and most importantly, watch football. Watch football. I see too many people on YouTube that, or, talking heads on TV that they make picks, but they don't watch the game. Like, you genuinely have to watch football and understand football and enjoy the game to understand who's a good team, who's a good offense, who's not a good offense. Numbers and analytics can only take you so far. Watch the game. Thank you. That is all that I've got to say. I am out for week 4. I will see you next time. Peace.